welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. It's time for another St. Louis FC post-match edition. And for those of you who saw the match, obviously another disappointing result for our beloved team. St. Louis FC falling by the score of 2-1 to the New York Red Bulls 2. Unfortunately, you get the same end result. The positive thing that I do want to try to hinge a lot of this stuff on in regards to how they played against New York is it was a lot better in this game than it was the game that we saw at home a few weeks past, about a month ago or so. That was a 4-1 loss. There were a lot of excuses made, and just you didn't really see a good effort on that night. St. Louis FC, again, they had their troubles. They're still trying to find that good cohesion, that right matchup that will produce results for them. They unfortunately also picked up a few injuries. We'll get to that in just a moment. But at least the effort was there. You saw them put in a hard 90, a solid 90 minutes, and unfortunately it was just a miscue in the midfield. Ambersley kind of pulled a little bit of a Michael Bradley with an odd giveaway at midfield, and seemingly just like the goal that cost the U.S. On the Michael Bradley giveaway back in the World Cup. Very similarly, the goal comes off the Mike Ambersley giveaway, and ultimately St. Louis FC finds themselves losing 2-1. They had some great opportunities. And again, that just seems to be the big sticking point with this team. You can sit there and point out, well, this position on the field isn't necessarily performing up to par. This position isn't necessarily doing that. Groups as a whole aren't performing up to par. But right now, it's about finishing. If this team could finish, they would be so much better. And you could say that about a lot of teams, but this really is the crux of the problem, in my estimation, when it comes to St. Louis FC, is their scorers just are not finishing right now. Whether that is overtraining, whether it's overthinking, regardless of what it is, they're just not being able to put the ball in the back of the net. They're not able to put good shots on target consistently. There were so many chances in that second half to where if you could have just put it on target, you would have yourself 2 or 3 goals, and instead they only ended up with the one coming from Ciesolka, an absolute good shot coming right off the bench, making an impact on the game. That's what you want to see. You want to see these players hungry to try and make an impact on the game. If they're not getting starting minutes, they're still coming off the bench and putting in that good effort and making a real good thrust into their match and doing something that is really going to help out the squad. Ciesolka did that here tonight, and unfortunately St. Louis FC just doesn't come up with at least a point out of it. They drop all 3 points. The injury bug just won't stay away from this team as well. It seems to be kind of a St. Louis thing here in the past few years. A lot of people out there I know are St. Louis Blues fans. You know all too well the kind of damage that injuries at the wrong time to the wrong people can cause to a team's playoff chances. The Cardinals have managed to avoid it for the most part. They have lost big pieces, and luckily for them, they have been able to kind of swing things around. The Rams get their offensive line seemingly decimated every single season. The quarterback has been gone, what have you. Too many players went down, though, with injuries. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't think it's anything that you can blame on a trainer. It's just kind of happenstance. But for Lynch to come into the game as a substitute and then leave potentially with an injury, that's odd, because I would like to believe that they didn't use a substitute simply because he had gotten a yellow card and might have been getting a little hot under the collar. I think that's a waste of a substitute. Obviously, if you really think that he has a chance at getting a red card, then I can understand it, but that's looking like it might be an injury. Barklage went out. It looks like he might be down with an injury. St. Louis FC has been missing players left and right. Musa missed a good deal of time. Quite frankly, it seems as though Fink is the only one that has stayed healthy for the majority of the year, and thank goodness for that, because he's been a good linchpin in that back four, which has also had its problems. That was another thing, and this is not a St. Louis FC problem. This is a football-wide problem, a soccer-wide problem, however you want to address it. But as a goalkeeper, I see it a lot differently than other people might, but I can't stand the way that people mark now, because quite frankly there is no marking anymore. You're guarding a space and then you're hoping that you'll be able to cut out a pass before it gets there. There is no marking a man anymore, especially on set pieces. But even in the flow of the game, everybody wants to say, oh well, he's 10 yards away, I'll be able to find him, even though the ball's going to go right past me and he's going to be able to run onto it and then I have to try to recover. It doesn't work that way. I'm not saying we need to go back to the 70s or 80s where you're trying to guard somebody like basketball, but there needs to be more awareness of where people are, and that led to the goal. Yes, it was a bad giveaway in the midfield by Ambersley, but again, there were a lot of players just kind of standing around wondering where the pass is going through. Well, if you get one-touch passes and they find their way through, there's absolutely no chance you have of breaking up that play if you do not have an idea where the run is coming from. And goalkeepers can only do so much to direct a defender because they have to worry about whether a shot might come or not as well. So, and again, this is not just a St. Louis FC problem. This is sport-wide. Even at the highest ranks, there's too much ball watching, there's too much trying to guard space instead of a man, and you ultimately will lose that battle if the pass is on point. And it's something that I would like to see change, but one person's opinion is not going to alter all these coaching styles and philosophies that have kind of ingrained their way into the sport for the last decade or so. But I do find that it's a bit sad because you have so much talent on the offensive side that you need to know where they're at all times. Now, obviously, you do need to be worried about passing lanes and that. You can't allow open space because you're trying to track that man, because then you'll get decoys and what have you. I understand that. But still, there are a lot of goals let up at all levels of this sport right now that are due to the fact that people don't have a clue where the person that they should be guarding is running to. They know that where they were, but they're watching the ball, and then boom, they're in behind him. And that has got to change. And again, St. Louis FC, we all love them. I've seen this argument a lot. There seems to be this kind of prevailing thought that you either love the team and support them no matter what they do, or you're critical and you're going to be gone. There is middle ground in here, and I think a lot of us fall into that. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily make ourselves known on social media as much. But there is a large contingent of people out there that are extremely critical of this team. They're extremely critical of the way that things are going right now, especially on the home field. If they saw results at home, then you could maybe excuse a few of the away results. But ultimately, there is a middle ground. You don't necessarily have to just say, I pledge myself to St. Louis FC. I support them no matter what. I'm going to wave the flag. There's nothing absolutely wrong with this team. There's a lot wrong with this team right now. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to be anything that can be cured. I think it's a lot of mental frustration right now because the skill is there. The talent is there. But for whatever reason, it's not coming together. And we do need to realize that this is still a first-year team. There's a lot of growing pains that go along with that. There was something that I didn't realize until recently, that Louisville FC, although they are a first-year team, are basically a lot of the old Orlando City players who did not make it onto the MLS squad and just kind of moved over to Louisville. So they've been in the league a little while longer, even though they haven't necessarily been in Louisville. So that makes a big difference. Yes, Brian Gall came up through the LA system. Yes, Mike Ambersley has played at this kind of level before. But as a team, you don't have a lot of cohesion yet, and I think you're still starting to see that. You're very slowly starting to see things kind of gel, but then it'll get pulled apart. There's still positives out there to be had. Everybody needs to still show up to the park. Everybody still needs to support this team because it's been so long to just get a professional team in St. Louis. There's no reason to give up, but there are reasons to be critical as well, and there's nothing wrong with that either. That is the View from the Midwest post-match edition for St. Louis FC. Hopefully we will get a victory come the home game next weekend. That's what we all want to see, because we all want to have a good time out there, and ultimately 3 points would be all the much more better. But until the next time, I'll see you then.